Somebody choosing to abstain from social media, as well as someone choosing to abstain from relationships, may have like a common reason why. It's about stepping back from the superficial when the superficial goes mainstream. What I do is not different than what maybe people have done for thousands of years that have gone their own way, but I don't identify with a label. There is a danger in that. I have gone where a lot of men haven't gone with discussing the unconsciousness in today's, not only just female, but male as well. This has resulted in me losing, if you will, quite a few points with your average viewer of said content. In fact, most people would assume that women were my main trolls or would come after me, feminists, over the years. And instead, and my friend can weigh in on this, I actually first talked about this a few years ago, how there's almost like a prison-like behavior, a dark side of MGTOW, ranging from when some men blame other men for their problems with women or minorities or others other than them, and other things that go on where people obsess on things regarding that content and attempt to put someone in a box. There are other people out there that I suspect are juiced in with the establishment, but we may never be able to prove it. But they're playing their role in the alternative media. It's very cloak and dagger. So for things to be distracted into becoming a box, even for labels, it's a trap. It's a trap. They try to use those labels against people. I'm going to conclude this part of the point. I started the name of my program on cable access TV called Outside the Box. Someone's not going to put me inside of a box just because they want to. We go down each type of content, from outside the box to geopolitics, to discussing the sun, relationships, our relationship to the sun included, not just to each other. I'm going out to the box of where a lot of humans go. When people attempt to marginalize someone and put them in a box, it is done to direct attention away from the other content. And that's not going to happen. I'm not going to let my lower emotions trap me into reactionary behavior. In fact, I acknowledge the good that a lot of women do in this world and have the good that they have done with regards to support shown to this channel. Things haven't been easy on my life. Things haven't been easy on my mother, who brought me into this world, maybe because she had me. And in recent years, since we've seen this kind of hysteria go on regarding the illusions of separation within our society, my eyes are open to the next level. Anger's not the way. The illusions of separation are not the way. There's plenty of good women have done for me behind the scenes and even energetically, even if they're not immediately in my own life. And there's a lot of harm that a lot of emotional, in particular, that a lot of men have sought to instill in me, which is unfortunate. I haven't seen enough brotherly love, I guess, if you will. I've seen, what I interpret and perceive to be a warning of things to come. So when I talk about things like the archonic interference, like mind control, like something like poltergeist, like people being evil for no good reason, people being mean and malicious and slanderous for no good reason, just to bully someone like it's a prison, all of that just validates everything that I'm saying about the archons, about how most humans are controlled by evil spirits. This is not like a crazy idea that humans haven't been looking at for maybe thousands of years. I'm giving an updated version of that, discussing internet relationships, dead deer, and dynamics. It's way outside the box of MGTOW. I criticize unconscious male behavior. Am I anti-male? But do I criticize unconscious male behavior? From the video game addiction to the people that will grab a weapon and go out to be someone's super soldier, go up and allow their body to be jacked up one more level to the steroids, and so they can be that much closer to the machine and to kill without feeling. I speak against that. So I see the unconscious male and female prototype. I see that these spiritual parasites that are preying on humanity, how they want to give us their mind. we can pause and get detailed about how it is for us as heterosexual humans from whatever gender, and have a normal conversation about unconscious behavior in the opposite sex. And there's a place for that. And when someone's on a spiritual path, it makes sense for people that have certain levels of morality to not want to bed down and just sleep with anyone around just because they're lustful. What about love, as the song says? What about consciousness? What about shared values? It's not about a cult. And that's insulting for people to even think that, because there are real cults that are out there where people get off on that. The dude who is literally sleeping with 20 girls. The greater reality is some people want to be with a rock star. I'm not even trying to play that role. And so I put this video out as also new females find my content and may not realize why I'm just like other men. Or one could be described as just trusting random people to walk into my life. It's not that, I don't have the interest sexually. I do. It's not that I'm now batting for the other team. That's an insult. That's childish for people to say, "Are you gay?" Society is not very evolved. It's that there are risks involved in getting involved with people that might just use us. When you're a controversial speaker and you talk about things that no dude in MGTOW talks about, you're not MGTOW. When that's not even 1% of my video commentary, that's not right for the algorithm to primarily send people from that demographic. I have been dedicating like nearly 15 years to waking people up about what's coming with China. Right? And I got to recenter the focus here for people that primarily found it for other reasons to understand that I have a lot more to offer people with regards to waking up. But people got to be adults. Person's pulling over on the side. You've noticed this too? That it's like prison-like behavior where you have basically, I talked about this with Kyle a couple years ago, prison-like behavior where it's not necessarily to blame anyone or say anyone's innocent, but the reality of us in a natural world with the absence of women and the increase in sexual aggression, men turning on each other, and then, as we were saying before we started recording, those that are perceived as being the most feminine out of the males being the ones attacked, like maybe a guy being taken advantage of in a prison. I thought those were deep kind of...
Right, like the absence of women isn't going to make the problems go away, because even through just having a male hierarchy, someone's going to get chosen to play that female role, just like in a prison.
Right.
And it doesn't even have to be a prison. It could be like a local community or even an online community. Simply just like
the way neighbors treat each other.
Right.
You were talking about vehicle.
The entire Earth's social population is like entirely based off a hierarchy, and to see who can get over on who. So just saying like women are the problem is not going to solve anything. Actually, that makes the problem redirect onto other people, and maybe in this case just certain men who are being picked on for any reason, and then others jump the bandwagon and begin to pick on the same their own peer group. And I think a lot of males don't realize what they're doing. I think they fill up their heads with a bunch of vocabulary and, like you said, labels and jargon, and then the truth to them is just basically they hide their own truth from themselves. That, just creating and all these labels, like I've heard just use women for what they're good for and leave them because they're mistreating men and that's all they're good for. Who actually raises these women? Other men, okay? Their fathers. So the solution isn't to increase the behavior by even men also sleeping with 20 women, because they're encouraging the same behavior that they're against, which is hypocrisy. Like, someone has to take, like you said, a moral stand or even an ethical stand just to redirect the behavior. If they want to see moral women and not keep finding like hoes or whatever, well then yeah, they have to start somewhere, maybe with themselves.
Let me just say really quickly, a lot of people miss the greater points in those videos. They may have latched on to something, they're like, yeah, tell it like it is, but what am I really saying in those initial videos that were labeled MGTOW? I'm discussing like a lack of concern about the issues that matter. And some of those things that are regular issues are people that are removed off the planet in large numbers. And so I'm talking about these overseas occupations. I'm talking about like the lust for the man in uniform. There's plenty of men that play into that paradigm. That'll go on, play whatever uniform that woman wants. And so like you're saying, there's people that are going to play the resentful game because they may not be getting something at the moment, because in the moment of social engineering, they're not in the favored end in their mind. Maybe they are, and their issues are issues that stem from something else. There may be other men that have it worse than them, that the propaganda machine is actually targeting as subhumans more than them in reality. And so there's also some of the racial propaganda from the politics that's infected and has basically destroyed MGTOW, kind of like other movements, research movements. And that's what's led me to conclude some of my theories that are way outside the box of MGTOW. It's like an analysis on what is taking place with today's generation and the breakdown in relationships. What I don't claim is have all the answers, but I'm here to kind of state again why I'm going to consistently stay on this path and attempt to stay out of traps. Things that are there to kind of entrap me within this world, because I'm on a path to speak about certain things, and I think that it's totally normal. I shouldn't have to compare this to like another planet, like a more evolved like dimension. We can look at other times in history to where men and women and men and men and women work together to get out the truth. And in recent years, the person holding this camera has been really the only one to help me work on basic things behind the scenes. And when you're someone in my shoes that's reached millions of people around the world and over time, and is on a path to speaking about the truth and helping people unplug, right? We need to be having some sort of alliance, not cult, but alliance with the people that we're with, energetically sharing space with. And when I was in Portland, Oregon, there was a period in which I slept with a lot of women and felt like my energy was drained, even vampired on, because the love wasn't there. It was always chasing that type of idea of unity, that someone that liked me for me. Not just where we felt at that moment at that bar with that alcohol and drinks and whether the chemistry was there to do the rest, and then the feeling that follows, the emptiness, the sadness. And to know in my own mind that there's been this brainwashing that even like is passed on from even parents to kids. You know, I was raised in a single mom household. Things were not easy on my grandmother either, the truth be told, and things that went on in the earlier generation before I. But this world can tell us certain stereotypes that sometimes are not truthful, like men are pigs, that men are the ones that are promiscuous. And without going on for 5 hours, I can tell you in a few minutes, and I remember at the age of 25 when I started OTB TV, loving someone very much that was helping me do the program. And I got to experience that sense of heartbrokenness from someone saying, you know, you're really hard to love. You know, I don't really know if I believe that there's a new world order, and me doing OTB TV, well, we all know that I talk about something really unique. And the truth is, when you're dealing with just conspiracy people that are just into that, you're also dealing with a lot of wickedness. So just because there are some women into conspiracy theories, I haven't found that vibrational match where I'm like, for who I am, my research, not what I think about some other dude. And so I haven't seen today's generation truly respect the things that I've created for me. And there's a big, big difference that I think that people need to understand between asking for respect, basic respect, and worship. Not interested in worship. Not interested in people that agree with everything. You know, but there's a certain level of respect that's fair to ask for from basic friends. Respect regarding value, right? Other things to not be talked down to. I've hung out with people that have no decency in the last decade. I've seen a drop in decency from men. And so this is less about like a specific MGTOW, MG2W from women as if I'm like living around a bunch of men or something going, R, 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 R. No men can really be seen as my ally. A lot of men could be seen to be people that have taken flight. The people that used to be my allies, but the people that are not today. That would say, fuck that dude, he went crazy. And for that to be like a meme. And for people to have a sense of malice that I am who I am. And I say things that are way outside the box of things that are normal. Like when I talk about freeing the human species and self-responsibility, like I go deep into things that transcend gender, that transcend politics, and transcend race. And I find myself living a life where I've been alienated from both sides of my family. And that would weigh on me every day. The audience would not always be reminded of this, but would be periodically. That I came up being bounced around between parents, and I didn't choose that. I didn't choose to be enrolled in 6 high schools in a single year. To be moving so quickly. We're still going? Are we still going?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Okay. Because things happen. But you know, as a result of that, I grew up fast in the year 2000. And I got in trouble. And then I came out swinging with OTB TV. That's not a normal childhood, early adulthood at all. It was just survival. In today's day and age, you don't just unless somebody has a lot of confidence, walk up to random people and go, how are you doing? I always suffer with a lot of pain. And people, when they're looking for relationships, and they're not trying to get hooked up with someone who's been really hurt in their life. A lot of people in today's day and age don't seem to be talented open source healers. Everything seems to have a price tag on it, actually. Give me $1,000 and we'll heal that chakra. You know, it seems like some of the most basic things that could be done with hugs aren't even being done anymore. And so for years and years, also, there's a plethora of things that I posted on Facebook. The one good thing about it is there's a lot of really, really emotional thoughts, but they're real thoughts and quotes that I shared over the years. And I glimpsed it just a little bit, but I didn't want to completely relive it. But there are things happening now as a result of the forces of evil that are destroying relationships that are not discussed in relationship advice handbooks. Where is there in any single relationship handbook about how there could be tensions in a relationship between man and woman when, say, one person is going to be affected by a genocide taking place or a war or other things, or maybe someone being psychic enough to be picking up on the future dystopian future, and that having a effect if the other person is viewing reality as some sort of golden ascended. And I was reflecting with my friend about a great deal, most of the women that I met in Portland believed in the 2012 consciousness shift alignment. As not like the whole city, but a lot of people that were, counterculture, spiritual, were all about that. Some people were doing that in 2000. And when they do that, you're not recognizing like the current wars, the lack of an anti-war movement. You're not recognizing the real purpose of the cameras going up. It's not just for women's safety. We have drones killing people in overseas, but we have drones over our skies. Now, if we have a war coming with China, economic collapse on the horizon, I don't want to be perceived as that crazy and spiritual guy, when to me it is spiritual to care about people, to talk about those very issues, that we should come to some solutions as communities. And now I see a lot of people grandstanding on those issues that I talked about. We could talk about the paranormal, or off-grid living, China, other things, the economy, other things. And there are people that are using keywords to manipulate without recognizing the people that came before them. The internet has turned into a dark place. And so as a result of the internet being a dark place and the propaganda that's out there, a certain amount of the population is going to be programmed. It's just math. It's not any ism. It's not applying racism. It's not applying classism. It's not applying prejudice to know the mathematics and physics that most people in this world are going to be programmed. And so some people are going to be gifted enough to know what people are programmed to believe because they didn't buy the program. It didn't work on them. And I believe I'm one of those people that is insusceptible to a certain level of mind control. Not all of it. I'm not perfect. But I am insusceptible to a certain meme that they want everyone else to believe. And part of my birth being different and mixed resulted in me being insusceptible. Now I realize the importance of seeing value in my message, the value in my work, the value in my life, and even understanding why I've experienced certain bad luck, why some of the women that I've dated in the past had their minds invaded. My friend here could probably, you mentioned that before, we haven't talked about that in a while, but when you first offered to help with certain things, at least 4 years ago, you talked about, because you also deal with, we'll get into that in another podcast, at length, psychic self-defense and meditation, you picked up on something trying to create an interference that would create a rift that would end that type of connection. Kind of like and what you're about to describe, like the poltergeist thing, I'll let you describe it, sounds like what I assume happens to some people that don't realize that there are these evil forces that can be something other than the host on YouTube. Other forces, other ghosts in the machine, if you will, on the internet that can try to cause interference between people and make it seem like that person's a witch or is evil, because in reality that person may be a powerful person. And I strongly suspect that I've had nonstop interference, like some sort of a punishment for the good work that I'm doing. So when we talk about me going off the grid and away from the electric grid and smart meters and cell phone towers, that's not me hearing voices in the head being schizophrenic. That's me going, there's something about this grid that over time I've come to believe is so unnatural that it's better for me to live in nature, like our ancestors did, in the trees. I don't think that's crazy at all. That's actually normal to American heritage. From my mom's heritage to my dad's heritage, it's normal to live. What's insane is to be running around with a cell phone frying your brain all day long. So in a way, the exile that I feel, like lack of luck, lack of success, doing OTB in the city, set me free so I can be in nature. And now 3 years in, I'm trying to take gardening seriously. I have a compost bin for my the way it was done before. And it will grow food. There's a plan in place. I've already grown some other things and done some tests. And so I'm going to evolve with this lifestyle, but it's taken me a couple of years to really accept what I've created. Sometimes we can feel how separate we are from the world and the screaming masses, and we can almost feel a sense of loneliness. But in the loneliness, there can be that zen. That's why, I enjoy looking at what's taking place in Portland and being able to talk about it and have an opinion about it, and for people in Portland to be checking out my content, but for me to not be in a place like that, in a pit like that, where the masses are fighting and punching. But do I care about those humans that are in the city of my birth? Yes, and I feel that it's totally natural to continue to speak about the people that we care about, even if we've never met them, and future generations. We don't have to literally shake the hands and bed down with and eat with and be in the city of the people that we speak of, or try to inform or try to help. So in a lot of ways, without even knowing really all that I've done, I put out knowledge, information, and ideas that are outside the box that have helped a number of different people. And it seems that since I've been off the grid and I focused more on this than dating and getting laid, that I've actually done the best work, the most focused work for my soul, I would say in the last 3 years. In that last 3 years, there was slander and other ways that people tried to humiliate me that never happened before the last 3 years. And since that time, I've asked myself, what was it about my work and the exact statements that I made that triggered them the most? I'll pause on that, but yeah, you remember that interference?
All right. I think I've talked about it before. Again, I'm a clairvoyant, medium, whatever, whatnot. By the time I started talking to Alex, a bunch of paranormal stuff just hit me. Fortunately, I had already had a bit of training in spiritual defense by that time. So it wasn't like I was totally unprepared, but I can verify that the level of interference is focused on hitting the gender first.
So this is something that a lot of people will never understand and will automatically think is just crazy and someone to pick on because they dare talk about relationships in the paranormal. And that's horrifying because like that is a popular thing. People do think about that. Eve Lorgen wrote a book about that. There are movies about that. That is real. And maybe some people were triggered when it said maybe some men allow themselves to be controlled by spiritual parasites by not reeling in their own lust. Because MGTOW alone without spirituality leads to like a very dark place. And so whether it's that topic or others, I've seen like paranormal type interference, I'll conclude with this, that has led me to think that it's best that I continue on my work without repeatedly seeing this type of interference. And it could even include to the type where I've made mistakes on my own accord, where I was not at my best, where I could have been in a better state of mind, where I could have been a little bit more on something. And if someone is compromised through something or someone, they may not be at their best. And there could be something to the mistakes that they make or the things that they overlook that can lead them into a state of bad luck and for their chi to be thrown out of whack. Even like looking up to someone and obsessing on these ivory towers, we can give away our chi. That's why I'm also trying to heal from some of the damage that I think some people have done to me, or at least perception of, so we can take back our own energy and recenter on the things that are most important. So I feel like I really threw my own chi out of balance for being heartbroken repeatedly. So now I don't constantly, and I don't maintain a dating profile, and Craigslist is no longer around. So I live very differently than Alex answered 10 years ago. 5 years ago, I began a path of disconnecting from the old Alex, and it set me free. But it's almost as if something evil in this world wanted to punish me. And so there has been certain good luck that I've experienced in freedom. There's also been like a certain like spirit of evil mocking me in the spiritual commentary I'm bringing and encouraging people to stay outside of attacking all men or women. And I've done videos that were